important reason for us to consider this is that the certified housing element calls for an ordinance. Section 3 covers affordability. Section 3.1 states that any development greater than 10 units would be encouraged to include this. Section 3.11 actually says that we will develop and adopt an inclusionary housing ordinance. And in order for us to stay in compliance with our certified housing element, we need to adopt some kind of an ordinance. So what are the different types of inclusionary ordinance that we could have? Research through the California Coalition for Housing Inclusionary Housing database indicates that there are barely 8 voluntary ordinances in the state of California. However, some of the voluntary ordinances have produced units. The state density bonus law, if a developer were to include 10% affordable units, they would be allowed a 20% density increase. Mandatory ordinances, there's about 160 mandatory ordinances in California. What our research showed was that those ordinances vary widely from one jurisdiction to another. There doesn't seem to be necessarily any continuity between ordinances. The history of voluntary use in Mendocino County is a little different, however. The county density bonus, which we do have, it's voluntary. It's been on the books since 1987 as part of the county code. However, no affordable units have been produced using the county density bonus up until last year, and RCHDC actually is having a 62-unit self-help program that used the county density bonus. The state density bonus law is also voluntary. It's been on the books since 1979. It was amended in 204 and 205. And no affordable units have been included in any project in Mendocino County until last year. Gardens Gate subdivision is intending to use the state density bonus law at this currently. So the effect of voluntary programs on affordable housing in Mendocino County is it hasn't been effective. The progress that we've made on developing an inclusionary ordinance, I just want to summarize it briefly for you, and that is that there were several presentations made in 2006. The Housing Task Force brought a presentation forward to you. You may remember that. Then on January 23rd in 2007, 3 options were brought forward to the board to look at. And the board made a request that we look at more incentive-based, which is what we've been doing. The progress this year, in January, on the 24th of January, we held a developer stakeholder meeting. Stakeholders had several concerns. Concerns that have an asterisk next to them on the next few slides indicate that there were many developers who were interested in that, as opposed to 1 or 2 people who were interested. Those will not be asterisks. Affordable units might devalue market rate units was a big concern for them. And therefore staff has put together, we've driven around and looked at places where affordable units are included in larger projects. And these are, where's my, okay, these are 2 attractive ways to do it. These are duplexes that are connected. The outside look of the duplexes is very similar to the rest of the development. On this particular one, this is a little different subdivision. They use the corner lots for duplexes or triplexes. We've got 1 unit here. It's connected right there to this unit, and behind there is another one. So that's a triplex on a corner lot. And again, the external look to the units is identical or very closely identical to the rest of the subdivision. Another attractive way to do inclusionary is to put a multifamily in a large subdivision. This across the street here are all single-family homes. This is quite a large project. This is the one that also had the triplex courts in the first slide I showed you. So they've put a lot of affordable units in this development. So it can be done, and it does not detract necessarily from the market rate units. Other developer concerns were infrastructure, a very big one. Almost all the developers were concerned about this. They believe that the county needs to invest in developing additional sewer and water infrastructure. Developers were also concerned with CEQA, that the county needs to stick to the guidelines precisely. They believe that too much time is allowed for agency comments and there's too many extensions granted. And this draws out the cost because it makes the environmental review very slow. Another developer also commented that community facility districts should be used to get bond funding for infrastructure. Another concern that most of the developers could relate to was the cost of building on various types of land. Affordable housing requires flat sites, and there's a concern that there's too much protection of the flat lands in the valley, and it forces developers to look at less ideal building sites for affordable housing. If it's not a flat piece of land, it drives the cost up for foundations. You know, it has to be engineered foundation rather than just a slab. Additional concerns that developers had are in your packet, and letters that they have voicing their concerns are there. There was some concern over the concept of an in lieu fee the last time that inclusionary ordinances were discussed with the board. What is an in lieu fee? Is it the same as an impact fee? No, it is not. What an in lieu fee is it's an option that's given to the developer. They can choose to pay an in lieu fee in lieu of building the units for some reason or another. It can be used for fractional units. It can be used for sites that are too, as I said, too expensive to build affordable units on site. A developer could choose to pay a fee for that required unit. With fractional units, if you have, for example, a 15% requirement for your project, and that comes out to be 1.5 units, developers oftentimes would like to pay that half a unit requirement as a fee rather than be forced to build 2 units, because of course they couldn't build you a half a unit. So those are reasons why one would want to use an in lieu fee. The fees are collected and they're put into a housing trust fund that's then used to finance affordable housing, either on a more conductive site or perhaps at a later time. For the in lieu fee discussion, there is precedent for offering the developers the option of paying a fee instead of building the units. There's a court case that the Home Builders Association of Northern California brought against the city of Napa, and the reason that the court upheld the city's ordinance was that it did offer the developer the option of paying the fee as well as an option for waiving the requirements altogether. If we include an in lieu fee that is focused the way we've been discussing, that allows more flexibility to the developers. Developer comments varied on the concept of a fee. Some developers felt that it was really necessary because, you know, sites are not always conducive to building affordable housing, and they wanted the option. They felt that they needed the option of paying a fee under those conditions. Again, fractional units, several of them stated that, you know, they don't want to round up and build you an additional unit. Some of the developers felt that the fee was a burden or a tax on development, which should not happen, that financing for these kind of programs should not include a fee. Summary of the comments and stakeholder letters were put in your packet for you to take a look at.